Hey guys, welcome back to my watercolor channel, and today I will paint some pansies. So my flowers have the colors of cold blue, such as cobalt blue, and then some warm yellow made out of deep yellow and a little bit of lemon yellow. I mixed my colors, so I used like cobalt blue and some crimson red. And now I wetted my paper and I add the first layer. I would like to have the background to be quite transparent, so not that much in pigments, and I try to make the layer quite light. I add some green, so the greens are basically mixed of deep yellow and some of the cobalt blue, but as well as cobalt blue and lemon yellow to create a very bright green. And unfortunately my camera switched off and some technical failures, so I started to do the petals already, but basically I continue to do the other petals here which are still missing, and it is adding some water and then adding some paint on it, so creating a light layer because the petals are usually quite fragile. I use different shades of purple as well as blue, so sometimes the cold blue shines through nicely, but I tried to add a variety of the shades of the purples in it. Sometimes it contains a lot of crimson red, so it looks much more reddish. The way I do it, I do petal by petal, as well as I don't paint the petals which are next to each other, so it's like every second petal when it's the same flower. And then I wait till it's dried because I want to have naturally coming edges there, which are basically hard edges. One of the petals on each flower is yellow, so this is where I use my warm yellow, and I kind of continue the same way, such as adding water, some of the paint, taking off some of the paint so there's a little bit of a highlight, and then try to emphasize some of the parts and giving the petals a form so it doesn't look so flat. And then I continue with the green, so I have drawn the stems of the flowers and I add the green around them so they really pop out nicely and they're very pale in color, while there's a much stronger green around the petals and around the stems. So here I really wanted to emphasize the flowers and the stems as well, but I don't really have a reference picture as such, so I see where I can emphasize the contrast. And towards the left side I add a very nice bright green, so I try to keep it there much lighter and add the attention there so it's really bright in color, and then later on I will add more of the deep yellow there. And the darker colors and a little bit of a muddy colors are on the right side, and adding also spots here of some purple, so it's kind of like that there are flowers more in the background. And I continue with the leaf. So my leaf is relatively having a nice green, but then I add a pinch of orange there, so orange yellow, so it fits nicely with the flowers, as well as I added some orange to the petals, but very light in color, and also adding more of the cobalt blue to the lower part. I forgot to add here one of the yellow petals, and I do it now. I also waited that the surrounding petals are drying, and now here you can see as well the nice orange. I mix more colors and adding it to the stems of the flowers, as well as to the leaves. And then I add those, I'm not sure what they are, those little darker parts on the pansies, so, which are very characteristic for the flowers. I use a very thin brush, and I tried to mix a much darker purple, which I have used before, and then adding it to the petals. And I tried to vary the direction, and here as well adding some of the form, so kind of like influencing with the brush strokes the form of the petals, so it gives more of a three-dimensional idea. And as well as adding more of the shadows, such as darker colors around the lighter areas, because now I really want to separate the petals from each other. And I do it the same way basically when I added the first layer, so just adding different shades of purple, and as well as a darker cold blue, so it really kind of nicely sticks out. Sometimes I add water as well, so I can spread the darker colors nicely, but the more water you add to the petals, the more diluted the pigments will be, and it's a little bit taking off the shadow, the contrast for the petals. Then I continue to add a little bit of a darker colors onto the leaves, as well as around the stems, because the colors have dried out nicely, but I thought they don't give enough contrast, so I need to add another layer where the petals and the stems are more emphasized. And then I look as well where I can add more of the darker shades around the petals, so it looks much more nice and much more defined. I use here the thin brush, but I should have actually used a normal mop brush for this, or the color brush, not as thin tip. Then I add another layer here, and I mix some green and then some darker onto the leaves of the pansies, and then spreading it with more water. And the layer here is relatively light, but it really kind of gives this wow effect to the yellow petals, so it really creates a really nice balance here. Now it's just adding more of the details as well, and I concentrated on adding darker colors around the edges of the petals, so it's just really small kind of work, and I tried to speed up here a little bit, as well as adding some of the darker veins to the petals as well, so it looks much more defined here, and you can see the petals more in a detail. It's always good to give darker areas so there is a contrast, but of course there is a chance or danger of overpainting. But then you can take it off with the water. And also emphasizing adding some more of the darker purple onto the yellow petals, so they really stick out now from the background. And then here a little bit the outside petals of the flowers. I really like pansies. They don't grow here that naturally, although I've seen some of the white ones, but it's really rare. However, you can grow them quite easily yourself. Okay, that was it. Thank you for watching and remember to subscribe. Bye.